This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not provide medical or legal advice. Please consult with a qualified professional before making any decisions regarding your health or legal situation.
On the subject of marijuana in particular. That is the purpose of this meeting, ladies and gentlemen, to lay the foundation for a nationwide campaign by you to demand by law such compulsory education.
High in the Ozark Mountains, it's the Greene County Podcast with Mike and Mason.
Welcome to Greene County Podcast, where we explore the world of cannabis. I'm Mike. This is Mason.
How's it going?
Today we're talking about the importance of responsible cannabis use. What is that?
What is that?
What is responsible cannabis use, Mason?
Well, it's what everybody should be doing. There's a couple key components, I think, that makes you a responsible cannabis user. So let's jump into it. Number one, I think you need to know your own tolerance, and that is different for every single person. Whether it's your first time smoking, whether you're a seasoned smoker, the plant hits everybody differently. That's a fact. So test it out. And the thing we always say, you can take more, you can't take less. So start slow, and then you can gradually increase that dosage to something that is comfortable for you. You don't want to overdo it because you can have some negative side effects, which I'm sure we've all experienced. I don't know about you, Mike. I've pushed my limits a time or two.
It's interesting because you mentioned the word tolerance, and yes, it is depending on the individual, but there's something else that happens, and that's your tolerance changes from time to time, depending on your use. If you're going through a period where you're using a lot more, your tolerance is going to be a lot higher. If you go through a period where you're not, that's going to change. So it's kind of like the adage when you, and I hate to bring this up, because this is a strictly cannabis podcast, but it's like with heroin, for example.
Oh my gosh!
Well, but it's true.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the same, but it equates to it, and that is the fact that a heroin user will be high tolerance when they're using all the time. They get clean, and then they fall off the wagon. They go back to it, and they just shoot up with the exact same dose they did last time, and it kills them.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen to you. With
can
cannabis.
we be clear with cannabis?
It's not
going to happen.
You're going to take a break for 15 years and come back and smoke a joint and you're going to keel over. That's not going to happen, but it will affect you negatively. So again, it's like I told someone after they had a kid, and she went through nursing and all that stuff, and when she was ready to partake again, I said, start with one hit.
Yep, one hit.
And wait. Give it 15 minutes.
Yep.
And that was cool until one day later, it was, what's wrong with you? And the silence, I go, you took more than one, didn't you? Yes. And I said, I told you, man, it takes time. It takes time. And so with that being known, also knowing your limitations, also knowing how you're going to react is key, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you go out with your friends and you kind of green out in a public place and you freak out and you have a panic attack or, whatever. So kind of know your surroundings, know who you're around,
Yeah, that's some good advice right there.
Don't put yourself in a position where you might be in a bad position because of your surroundings. You want to make this a positive thing, and if you keep coming back with negative returns, you're not going to like it, and you're just going to push it off because you put yourself in a position to fail.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to set yourself up to succeed.
Yeah. Don't plan high intensive, like I need to pay attention stuff if you want to smoke some cannabis. It's just like any other medicine, like pain medicine or something like that. You want to avoid operating machinery and driving, and know your limits, because there are going to be some limits.
There's limits for everyone. There's limits for you. There's limits for me. There's limits for everyone. Even guys that take it too far eventually will green out. And sometimes you need to take a tea break. You know what I mean?
If you don't know what a tea break is, a tolerance break, just stop smoking for a bit. A good... somebody told me 20 days on, 4 days off. So 4 days off, 20 days on.
That's
right.
Yeah.
That way, every month you are experiencing both sides of the spectrum.
Reality
And your perceived reality when you're high.
Whatever that is. Yeah. And, obviously, and this goes without saying, do not drive or operate machinery under the influence of marijuana.
No, don't.
Legally,
and also don't do anything illegal.
Can't do that legally. But again, like we said, knowing your surroundings is a big deal. And there are also factors in it, especially when it comes to ingesting it via your mouth.
Oh my gosh, especially when it's that.
Weight and body composition, as I've mentioned, metabolism has a big effect on that because your body breaks down the THC at a different speed than others. So it could be a really slow process like me, or it could be really fast like someone else.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I remember when my mom first started using very recently for some pain stuff she has. It was so funny. She took a hit, smoking it, and she's like, this isn't doing anything for me. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then we gave her like literally a 10 milligram gummy, and she just started tripping. And it affected her differently. One, she wasn't aware. She decided to take the entire 10 milligram instead of like dosing it out for herself. So it was kind of funny because I've never really seen my mom that way before. And she's like, hey, is everything's going to be okay, right? And I was like, yeah, Mom, everything's fine. Just breathe. Just remember, this is going to end soon. Also, CBD helps pull you away from that. I don't know if you know.
Like
CBD.
I said, one of the best hangover cures in the world is CBD, and it will correct sometimes the green out. It will. It has. In my experience, it has. But this is, again, two people that use a lot of cannabis. So when we talk about green outs, we're talking about like taking it way, way further than most people should.
Yeah. Well,
and
some people it doesn't even need that much.
No, yeah. And most people don't. Definitely don't. But again, it's just knowing yourself and being responsible and understanding that you can always take more. You can't take less. That's really, we could have just said that for the episode and
yeah,
been
that's
done
the whole thing.
Easily.
The negative effects, though, they aren't always like extreme negative effects.
No.
Like when my dad uses too much. He just gets really talkative and annoys my mom. He thinks he's so smart and like, oh, I'm so creative. I'm thinking of all these things in different ways. And mom's like, why are you still talking? Just shut up. You've been talking about the same thing for 20 minutes.
Yeah. And again, that goes with, I'm sure, other drugs and alcohol too. It depends on the person. So, there are things like we've mentioned, panic attacks, anxiety, impaired coordination. Your thought process may change. I know people that use it and go work out and they love it because it helps them focus.
Yep.
I'm the opposite. It's the last thing I want to do is lift weights. I'm not trying to do that or run or anything.
Right. Staying away from those dangerous activities for yourself when you're...
But then sometimes it's interesting because, I'll do a dab of a sativa and then I'll notice that I'm starting to do all these little things around the house that I would push off normally, or I'm like, hey, this needed to be fixed, or this, or like I can line things up better. It's weird how that focus comes into play when you should be doing the complete opposite, but it's like line me in. Right. Maybe that's the way my brain's starting to form. I'm not sure.
I've got a particular strain that I say helps me do laundry because I do not like doing laundry. It's just, you're sitting there waiting in between loads, and what better thing to do than throw something in your bowl, smoke up, and then get back to those chores.
On that note, I think it's time for a break, and when we return, we will talk about some of our irresponsible marijuana stories. We're back, Greene County Podcast, and we've given you kind of overview of what responsible cannabis use looks like. Again, know yourself, know your role, know your surroundings, and know what you're taking. And if you go to a dispensary, that should not be a problem at all. But in that vein, it wouldn't be a podcast or it wouldn't be a personal podcast if we didn't talk about some of our irresponsible cannabis use. Because it wasn't too long ago that this stuff was illegal. Mm-hmm. You could go to jail for it. I've been to jail for it.
Oh, really?
You want to go first? You want me to go first, I guess?
Yeah, I would love to hear what not to do especially now that it's just
Well,
legal
now
and everywhere.
It wouldn't have been anything because we weren't doing anything in driving, so it wouldn't have mattered. We would have been let go. Well, not really, because this wasn't in Kansas, so it'd still be the same thing.
Oh my gosh! So what happened?
I just turned 18. I was still in high school. One of my best friends, he was still 17. Our favorite band's Radiohead. The closest they were coming, this was when Amnesiac and Kid A came out, so early 2000s. I think it was 2000. And they were playing Red Rocks in Colorado, top 5 venues in the country. If you've never been there, go. It's unbelievable to see a show there. I don't care who you're watching. It's such a cool venue. So the plan was we would jump in a car from here, drive all the way through the night until we either got tired or made it to Colorado, and then stay with my cousin Lace in Denver.
Yeah.
Party, go to the show, and then drive back. So we leave in the afternoon. We were both stone cold sober. We stopped at a Denny's, I want to say, in Manhattan, Kansas. Had like a late dinner. Decided that we were both still pretty awake, and I was like, let's just keep going, man. Let's just keep going. I mean, we can probably make it at least another 5 hours, probably into Colorado before we have to stop.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, okay, cool. Well, we were carrying a little bit under an ounce of marijuana on us between the two of us.
Which would have been legal now.
In the state of Missouri.
In the state of Missouri.
In the state of Kansas. Still not in the state of Kansas. So anyway, we get back on the highway. Everything's cool. And then we get in a pretty bad torrential downpour, like storm, like visibility. I want to say was like 30 to 40 feet in front of us. It was really, really, really bad. And then all of a sudden we get into a construction zone on I-70 where they had actually were doing work on a 2-lane. So they had put the cones on the inside of the marker, like the spotted line in the middle, the dotted line, right? So that you basically almost had to like be off the road just to stay in that lane. Mm. So we're driving along and this happens, and my buddy, he's like, I can't see anything. I was like, I know this is awful. I was like, just slow down. We'll just go slow. So we go down to like, I want to say he was going 35, 40 miles an hour in this storm, in this construction zone, which is responsible.
That sounds extremely responsible.
Out of nowhere, this semi-truck driver comes out and just gets right up on us. I mean, dude was like, I could have jumped off the back of the car onto his car. He was so close. And he stayed there forever. And we're like, what in the hell is this guy's deal?
Yeah.
Like, it was so dangerous because we're like, why is he riding our ass? What the hell is going on? So, storm clears. We get out of the construction. We start driving. We leave the semi behind. Start going. And sky clears. It's nice again. You know, it's summer. It just rained, so it's really nice outside. Roll the windows down. We're driving down I-70. And then all of a sudden, and he's going the speed limit. He pops by a highway patrol in Kansas, state trooper, and he pops around. And then we're the only ones on highway. So we know he's coming for us. And so in my quick thinking, I'm thinking, you're the driver. I said, give it to me. I'll ditch it. Get to that overpass. Because we were coming up an overpass. I was like, if I can get to that bridge, I can dip it over the side. He'll never find it. Well, he pulls us out. Doesn't tell us why he's pulled us over. So, and I'll get to this in a second because it's important.
Yeah.
But takes us out. Where are you guys going? Colorado. What are you going there? See my cousin, see a concert, blah, 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 blah. So I already knows. He's like, oh, a bunch of potheads. He knows. Mm-hmm. But the car didn't smell like anything, right? Except for the place that had previously been holding the ounce. It probably did a little bit. But so he pulls us aside, and this guy was a hawk. He never gave me an opportunity to dump it. I never got a chance. I never got 2 seconds without his eyes on me.
Wow.
So I was just
pro cop work right there.
It's in on me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. So he comes back, and there's anything else in the car I need to know about? No. Searches again. Doesn't find anything. There's something about, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, man. So then he goes back a third time.
Oh my gosh.
And this time he finds 4 seeds.
Oh no.
And he arrests the driver on paraphernalia, because with 4 seeds, it's paraphernalia. And Mike, we're going to figure out what to do with you when we get you down there. right? And I'm carrying, and I know exactly what's going to happen. So we get to the police station. My buddy, like I said, was 17, so he was getting ready to be transferred over to the juvie detention center because he was still a minor.
Yeah.
I was going to big boy jail.
Oh, my God.
And we're sitting in the room together, and I'm just like, man, he's like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know, dude. I really don't know. I was like, you're going to be in there for a lot longer than I am because you got to wait for your grandparents to come get you, and I'm going to be stuck here until they release me. So essentially, they split us up. They take me in the room, and it's like, well, might as well come clean. I just drop it down on the desk, and he goes, I knew it! Got him! And you should have seen this guy. He was high-fiving everyone like he just busted a cartel member. I'm like, good job, bud. You wasted, 10 hours of your life. And it definitely screwed him because ultimately what happened was that truck driver that got on our ass claimed we were intoxicated. For whatever reason, we weren't driving, we weren't swerving, we were literally in a construction zone in a torrential downpour, trying to stay on the road, going 40 miles an hour, trying to be responsible. He radios ahead, Highway Patrol hears him, he's like, I'll be on the lookout for him, and then they caught us. It's a money-making game. Ultimately, the judge found that the search and seizure was done illegally. He had no reason to pull you over. No, ultimately, I only had to pay, I think, court costs. I didn't get anything on my record because it was a cash grab job, and you could tell the way that it was operated. You could tell it was a cash grab. They're still doing this right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get released. I didn't sleep at all. They give me breakfast, and they bail me out. Interestingly enough, my aunt is a retired detective. She lived in the town about 2 hours away from Waukene, Kansas. And I could have been out in an hour, but she was on a cruise and out of the country at the time. So it was perfect timing. So I got bailed, and they're like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I guess I'm walking to a bus station because I don't know where my friend is, and I'm definitely not going to stick around and wait. Can I get into his car and get my pack out? Yeah, sure. Like, they didn't even search the car. Like, I could have had so much contraband in my pack. They didn't even search it. It was such a backwoods whatever.
That's crazy.
Anyway, so I got my pack, and those cops followed me as I walked from their police station downtown Waukene, Kansas, to out I-70, found a bus station that was inside of a gas station, walked in, asked how much a ticket to Denver was, told me it was $50, bought it, sat there and waited 4 hours until the bus got on there, and called my cousin, said, hey, I just got arrested. I'm still going to come. Got in the bus and literally rode next to this dude from Compton, California that told me all about the riots. He was in it. It was actually really cool to be sitting there with him. He was a cool dude. Got off, cousin picked me up downtown, partied with a bunch of lesbians because she's gay, and hung out with a bunch of lesbians all weekend by myself and partied, went to Radiohead, came back home. My friend had to wait for his grandparents.
Oh, no.
This was before cell phone time. I just left, and he went home, and still to this day is pissed off at me that I went without him.
Oh my gosh, dude!
It's not like I've got so many stories where I got so lucky. Like one time we were going on a 5-day to the Buffalo, and irresponsibly smoking in the car in the backwoods of Arkansas, came around a corner, and there were literally 5 Arkansas State troopers on each side of the road in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, my gosh.
Doing checkpoint in the middle of the day, on Friday. And we're like, what the? Put it up, pull up. Like, the smoke was still coming out of the car.
Dude.
And he looked at his driver's license, looked at him, said, you're good to go, and let us go.
What?
I've had a situation where we were playing a festival kind of by the, I gotta say it was the Black River or maybe it was the Current. There was like a music festival thing. And we were late as hell. And dude was blowing down Highway 60. And we got popped going probably 95. And same deal like he tried to do with us in Kansas. Right? He pulled the driver out this time, put him in this patrol car, and kept saying, I don't know something about you boys. Wanting to search our vehicle. Yeah. And Dylan knew good and well if that happened, I was going to jail. He's like, he's carrying, he's going to jail. This was before it was legal in Missouri. And Dylan stayed strong and said, look, officer, there is a whole band's worth of gear in the back of my truck. Yeah. If you search my vehicle, we're already late. Why do you think we were going 95? If you pull all that stuff out, we're not making our show. There is no reason for you to do it. You have no cause to search my vehicle. If you want to go down that road, you're going to have to go down that road because I'm not going to be late. And he kept, I don't know, something about you boys. I don't know. They even at one point made me tilt my head back to look up my nose to see if I was like snorting anything.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Jeez.
But anyway, but he held strong and they had to let us go because he wouldn't let him. Because he stayed on, like, look at all that gear in the back of that truck.
Yeah.
Look how much it's going to take to get it all out and then put it back in. Why am I making this up? But so again, there are a million times where I got lucky. It's Murphy's Law, though. If you ride that line, you're eventually going to get popped. Thank God it's legal in the state of Missouri. We'll be back with Mason's bad cautionary tale next on the Greene County Podcast. We are back in the studio with our irresponsible tales while we talk about...
Very irresponsible. All of yours, dude. Mine, I don't know if mine compare.
You wanted me to go first, bro. That's what happened.
You know what I learned from your irresponsible usage? Don't drive into other states where it's not legal with any amount of marijuana because it will probably not end
we're looking at you,
well
Tennessee.
For you.
We're looking at you, Tennessee. They'll throw the damn book at you there still.
Yeah. Kansas, too, dude. And I guess not as bad as it used to be.
Kansas,
because when it was Colorado was the only legal place, they were nonstop.
Like West Kansas, like Colby, Kansas, like that area, they probably don't care because it's so close to the border. What are they going to do? East side Kansas, Kansas City, Kansas area, probably as far into, I'd say definitely Lawrence, because Lawrence is a hippie town, and they were one of the first to decriminalize it. Probably maybe to Manhattan. I don't know. Topeka is kind of, I don't know about Topeka area because that's Manhattan, really, Topeka. But I'd say literally Lawrence east to the border in Missouri and then Colby west to the border in Colorado. Those areas are probably going to be pretty chill and lax.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much, it's oversaturated. And in regards to that, it's kind of a conversation I had with our local police about this because we honestly wanted to bring in a law enforcement officer to talk about their perception and enforcement of the current law in Missouri because it's recreational and medical and how they do it. And their response was pretty cut and dry. We don't mess with it because the law is always changing. And is it really worth it? Now, yes, if you're behind the wheel of a car and you got a joint in your mouth and you're swerving all over the place or you hit someone, that's a no-no. You're going to get in trouble. But if you're like walking around or, you're not doing anything wrong and you just happen to have, they're probably not going to prosecute. And a law enforcement officer is probably not going to take it that far because they know damn well the DA is not going to prosecute it. Yeah. And it's just a waste of time. It's probably the same with those parts of the state. But again, it really depends. And you're right, better safe than sorry. Just don't
Definitely
go to those states.
Better safe. Don't go to those states.
Don't go to those states. You want to go on vacation in Kansas? No. I will go to vacation in Colorado or Missouri. Either way, yeah. So what's your...
irresponsible use? Oh, okay. I'll tell you the first time I ever smoked was also a pretty irresponsible, nothing like yours. But I had just gotten off work from a movie gallery, right? Back in the day when you used to rent DVDs. I got off work. I went over to my friend's house. I'd hung out over there multiple times. They smoke all the time, and I never partaked. Like, never once did I smoke with them. I was feeling a little rough that day, and they were just passing it around, and the pipe was just sitting there on the ground. They're playing video games. So I grabbed the pipe, and I just hit it, right? First time. I've only watched them smoke weed, so I have no clue. They look at me, they go, "Oh my gosh, he did it!" So it became like this whole event. They got out a brand new piece, loaded another thing. I was like, okay, well, I already did it once. I guess I'll hit it again. I did not have a tolerance. Definitely not a tolerance near what I have now. I got so messed up. Time started changing. I started playing video games. I was unbeatable at Soul Calibur. Right?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was Soul Calibur, baby. On
this has now become a
Dreamcast or something?
Yeah, Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Badass. A little interjection. I am also a master at Soul Calibur. Like so good. Who was your? Let me ask.
Who's my go-to?
Who's your main in Soul Calibur?
Honestly, Valdo.
Of course you were.
Yeah, Osvaldo. That dude had no bones in his body. He just like wiggle around, and he was like Edward Scissorhands. He had like little knives on it. Oh, dude, it was amazing. It was like playing with a clown. Who was yours?
Edvaldo is such a weird dude.
Who'd you have?
Cervantes.
Okay,
Cervantes was
giant
probably
sword.
my favorite. Let me go down here. Cervantes, because I want
going through the roster.
Yeah. Cervantes was one. Huang was another.
Huang, yeah.
I also
Was he the guy with the
like Mitsurugi because I liked this big samurai guy.
He had a weird charge.
Siegfried, well, dude with the huge sword.
Yes.
If you could wield that, you could probably do some good stuff.
Who was the girl with the shield and the sword? Like,
she was a proto Brigitte from Overwatch. Was it? Yeah, it was Sophia.
Sophia. Yeah.
She was cool, and she was quick.
She was. She'd be rolling around on the ground too and stabbing.
Spin. Yeah, I liked her. A real side story about that is one of my best friends in the world. He's a doctor in Boston now. I mean, like heavy duty doctor, like smartest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And I've known him the whole time I've been in this town, and he and I get very competitive, especially when it comes to fighting games. And he had a Dreamcast for years and years and years after they stopped making it. I mean, we even lived together when we were in college. And this would happen every now and then where we would be drinking or partying and SoCal would get brought up and he'd always start talking trash. And I always would remind him about the time when we were either in high school or really early college when he lived in like Old Monterey or Polo Club. I think it was Polo Club Apartments. And it was just him and I and some chick he was trying to like get with or something, hanging out at his place one day in the afternoon in summertime, and we're playing Soul Calibur, and I just kept kicking his ass, and he kicked me out of his house.
Sore loser.
Because I beat him. So when that would get brought up later on, because I love the guy, he's my brother, I'd be like, Sean, you kicked me out of your house once because I beat you so bad. No way, no. So
he's bringing it out again.
Instance, he's like, no, we're doing this now. Brings the Dreamcast out.
Yeah.
Hooks it up. Everyone in the party's drinking. Yeah. Fire up SoCal. Go. I think in this instance I went because Cervantes, he is a cheap character, but I was like, I think that was my main in this situation, and I beat him. And this time he just takes the controller, slams it down on top of the Dreamcast and destroys it. And he goes, well, I guess we'll never play that again, and walks off. And that was the last time.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
Worst loser ever, twice, man.
Hard to play that guy in competitive games, you know.
That's crazy.
But it would always also kind of happen in Tekken. Because in Tekken, I'm an Eddie main, and Eddie's definitely the cheapest character. But you can't use that argument in a video game if that character exists and the developers put him in there.
No. I'm going to disagree with you because if you are using, like, if you're using the same, if you're like leg sweep, uppercut, leg sweep, uppercut, like that is cheesy, man. You need to use all of your character.
Just like in professional sports, if you're going to run a slant out wide, and the defense doesn't stop you, and you keep running the play and it's successful, do you keep running that same play that's successful?
I like this analogy, but I hate that I'm agreeing with you.
Do you keep running that play? What do you do? In professional sports, you keep running that play. That DB's not covering him. I'm going to throw it to him every single time until they put 3 guys in that, and I go, okay, can't do the slide kick anymore because all he's doing is crouching and blocking.
I'm going to side disagree. I agree with what you're saying in idea, but when you're playing sports like that, you have the option to completely deviate what you're doing to accommodate what the other person is. With a fighting video game, you only have so many moves per person. You can't just be like, oh, well, he reaches long, so I'm just not going to get close. Like, you might have to get close because your person has a short reach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, again,
I don't know.
The developers created a game with a set of rules and a set of characters that exist in that rule. Everything. If you're playing a shooter game and you're using a tracker, you're a cheater because the developers didn't put that in the game. If you're using anything else outside of the game rules, I get it. You're cheating. Performance enhancing drugs would be a good example for my professional sports analogy. But bottom line is, you have a set of rules. Your job as a competitor is to figure out a way to win inside of those set of rules. And if you have to be a cheap character, crouching and kicking, and it wins you matches, be the champion of the world doing that.
Can I tell you, I love how...
also Tom Brady.
Can I tell you,
Tom
I love
Brady
how...
is the most crouched slide kick player of all time.
Oh, man. Can I tell you, we started this episode about responsible and irresponsible drug use, and now we are heavy, deep in it about video games and gaming the system.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the wonder of marijuana, because if nothing else, marijuana can lead you from talking about responsible cannabis use to your friend who destroyed a Sega Dreamcast because he was mad at losing at Soul Calibur.
Well, when we...
Also involving marijuana, I'm sure.
When we get back, I'll finish my story, which honestly is not that good, so I'm really glad that we segued a bit.
You are talking about something.
Yeah,
so
when we come back, more irresponsible usage.
Maybe. Hold on. I got to jump in on this. Give me a second. Let me pause this.
Oh, I love...
We're back.
We're
Green
back.
County Podcast. Mason is going to actually attempt to finish his story. Good luck.
Yeah, I got a bad story, and now that we stopped in the middle of it, it's going to be even
You said
worse.
the word Soul Calibur. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Okay, here we go. So, playing video games. First time I ever smoked weed at a friend's house. Just got off work. They went crazy because they've been wanting me to smoke forever. We start playing video games, right? I get lost in it because I'm so good at Soul Calibur. It cannot be beat. Literally for like 2-3 hours we played straight. Then something popped up on my phone, and it was my coworker saying, hey, I've been sitting here for like 15-20 minutes. Are you going to come pick me up? I had completely forgotten that I had to go get my friend when they got off work because they didn't have a car. And I was like, yeah, I got you. No worries. You can count on me. Turns out you couldn't, because I did way too many drugs. We had to call around to find a friend to go pick up my friend. She ended up coming over, thankfully was not mad at me, because that could have been like a friendship ruining moment right there. Just leaving somebody stranded. But she was also super excited that it was my first time smoking. So she was like, let's do it again. I was like, I'm already way too high. I didn't pick you up from work. I think I've had enough. So we smoked another bowl.
Yeah. I remember the first time I still remember the first time I got stoned. Still.
Yeah.
To this day. Even this, which is crazy because at this point in my life, most of my early memories are just memories of memories. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. So what happened?
I don't want to talk about how old I was because that's not a good thing. But
we do want to let you know we support anybody who's
21 and over.
21 and over.
21 and
I think
over.
it's 18 plus with a medical license.
Yeah, if you get the medical, but 21 and over.
21 and over.
21 and over.
Anyways, so Mike was obviously 21 and over.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. And I get deja vu a lot, and I don't know if that's premonition or what it is, but that was the first time that I actually had like walking deja vu. Like I could see it in real time.
Like as
I was in it. Like it was the weirdest thing. And I don't get it that strong anymore, but those first few times, yeah, I'll never forget that.
People just keep changing things in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right? That's what deja vu is.
It's one of those things where I always say it really comes down to the person. In whatever you do. If you drink and you become an asshole, don't drink.
True.
Right? If you can't function and do what you have to do, don't do those things that are blocking you from doing what it is that you need to do. If you're a family man and you're out at the bar every night, probably shouldn't be at the bar. Right?
And I'm going to let you know, it's not the drug's fault. It's not the alcohol's fault.
No, it's the choices you're
technically.
making.
It's
Well,
the choices.
I know
there's
affect you. It's you're putting yourself in a position to.
But you should be
fail.
aware of that.
But you should also be self-conscious and also understand that maybe you don't need this thing. And that goes with marijuana too. I mean, if you're waking up every day and you're getting stoned till 10 or 11 and you're not going to find that job, or you're mooching off your friends, or you're sleeping on somebody's couch, and this is like all that's not what life is. And it shouldn't be that first and then life. It should be, this is a spice that is in your life that you add, but it's not your life. And I think Stephen King said it best when any man that has a vice that can't share it probably shouldn't have that vice.
Oh, that's well
the
put.
Best advice when it comes to any kind of drug, to be honest. And that goes with this too. If you feel like you're at a situation where you're like, I can't do this or I can't share this or whatever, you probably have a problem, whether it's addicting or not. We talk about how marijuana it's not addicting, but I do sometimes feel that it is habit forming in the sense that I do this after this, or I use this to help wind down, any no different than drinking or whatever. So there are tendencies that lead to habit forming things. But again, if that's detrimental to you and what you need to do as a father, a husband, a coworker, a kid going to college, whatever that is, you need to have the wherewithal to take a look and say, you know what, is it really worth it? And what am I losing and what am I gaining? So ultimately, be responsible. We've got all kinds of great articles on our website, greencountypodcast.com.
Yep, you can check it out now.
If you have any questions, please hit us up there too. We'd love to answer them. I don't care what the question is. How long did Mike have to wear a striped suit when he was in jail? That's fine. I'll answer that question if you ask it.
I might ask it next episode, honestly.
Not coming from you.
We might have to have another one of these.
What kind of breakfast did they serve at the jail in Waukene, Kansas?
I want to hear more Mike stories.
I still remember that too,
dude,
buddy.
Your stories are spicier than mine, so we definitely need to have another.
What was actually the worst part about that trip? Was it getting arrested? No. I didn't even tell you the worst part about that trip.
Oh, man.
And I got arrested, my friend. I got arrested. I did get lost in the woods outside of Red Rocks trying to find my cousin Lisa's car. Dude, they played Talk Show Host that night. It's one of my favorite radio songs of all time. I was blown away. First time seeing him. I've seen him 8 times since then. Yeah, that's not even the worst part. So bottom line is, we're going to get on another tangent. We're going to start talking about Soul Calibur again for an hour. You don't want that. You better not edit any of this out, too. That's the best stuff we probably
Oh, no, I'm keeping every word.
Bottom line is, send us questions, greencountypodcast.com, and I'd love to answer them. I don't care what it is. Warts and all, I'm Mike, the intern. This is Mason saying use responsibly, and we'll see you next time on the Green County Podcast.
So that our children are obliged to learn the truth, because it is only through knowledge that we can safely protect them.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not provide medical or legal advice.